Then a series of rookie versus veterans, a series of surprises, a series of the most exciting action imaginable. It's the Camel Supercross Series, next on ESPN.
Stadium, Anaheim, California, was the site of the opening round of the Camel Supercross Series. Favored to win the coveted title, estimated to be worth no less than $1 million, were veterans Rick Johnson, a two-time champ, the defending champion Jeff Stanton, and another two-time champion Jeff Ward. But when the checkered flag was waved, the first three places belonged to rookies. Damon Bradshaw was on top, followed by Jean-Michel Bayle and Jeff Matasevich. Round two at the Houston Astrodome was more of the same, as Bradshaw made it two in a row. He was followed by another rookie, Larry Ward. In round three at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, California, Bradshaw's streak came to an end with this crash while leading the main event. As a result of the crash, Bradshaw would be ineffective for the next several races. The rookie onslaught, though, would continue. Defending champ Jeff Stanton won the San Diego event, but the next 5 places went to the first-year upstarts. Round 4 at the Seattle Kingdome was more of the same. Larry Ward, a rookie, won it. Another rookie, Jeff Matasevich, took control of the championship points lead by capturing second place for the second consecutive week. At Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium, round 5, the veterans came roaring back in what has been described as the most exciting Supercross ever and took the first 3 positions. The win went to former champ Jeff Ward on the final lap. At Daytona, it was Stanton for the second year in a row. Matasevich, though, held on to the points lead with a 4th. 1 week later at the Silver Bowl in Las Vegas, Matasevich increased his lead with his first win of the season. At the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, Jeff Ward was the winner. The rookies, led by Matasevich, who finished second, continued to dominate, though, by finishing second, third, fourth, and fifth. The midway point of the series, round 9, saw yet another rookie grace the winner's rostrum. Jean-Michel Bayle came out on top, followed by the early season sensation Bradshaw and Seattle winner rookie Larry Ward. And that brings us to the first event of the second half of the season. Hello, everyone. I'm Larry Myers. With me, Dave Despain. We're coming to you from the Pontiac Silverdome, site of round 10 of the Camel Supercross Series here on ESPN. Dave, it's been a series, we've said it many times, full of excitement, full of surprises, and most of all, great racing action.
And the best news of all, Larry, is it's only going to get better. I'm reminded of the playoffs that the various stick and ball teams go through in these stadiums that we visit on the Supercross Tour. You've got to get yourself in position to be in contention come playoff time. Supercross is like that. In the second half, we've got 6 guys who still have legitimate shots at winning that championship. I think the strategy is going to be fascinating.
Speaking of strategy, what is it going to take? 6 guys, I mean, what do they think about? What do they have to do to win that title?
I think for the answer to that, we should turn to the man who has won 2 of those championships and more Supercross races than anybody else in the history of the game. His name is Ricky Johnson. Injuries have kept him out of contention this year, but he's sure the guy who could give the advice to the would-be champion of 1990.
We've had 9 races so far, and the series is still up in the air. This year, the riders have been more inconsistent and actually a little bit too aggressive than they've ever been. As you see, I've been knocked out of the series for a couple races. Jean-Michel Bayle, also Damon Bradshaw. So the series is looking a lot different than it ever has been. I think a lot of riders are those riders are going to surprise people at the end of the season, because it's going to come down to they don't have to worry about a championship, and they can just worry about making themselves look good at the end of the year. Damon Bradshaw, myself, but Bayle, who is a factor for the championship, I think it's going to come down to between him, Jeff Matasevich, Jeff Stanton, and also Larry Ward for the championship.
Well, if anyone would know, it would be Rick Johnson.
Larry, it's a shame that he's missed so much of the action this season with the injury. We expect him to be back in action tonight and hope he does well. It'll be interesting to see how he does.
His timing has to be a little off. He's missed so many races, and it's got to affect him one way or another. But anyhow, we'll find out. Heats and main events coming your way very shortly. But before we get to them, Dave, let's take a look at the track that the riders will be riding on here in the Silverdome.
Yeah, Larry, let me call your attention to the one thing unique about this racetrack. Upper right-hand corner of your screen, you see the leg that actually goes up into the grandstands and then back down to the level of the playing field. Here's how it looks from the Cycle Cam.
Well, another unique feature, Dave, is this long starting straightaway. It's much longer than in most stadiums. A couple of breaker bumps to break it up, a sharp left-hand turn, then a very rough section of the track, and here we go up into the grandstands. Now, this is a particularly tight portion of the track. A lot of accidents will occur here. Not much much room to get around. They shoot back down, take a hard right, over a series of whoops, and lining up for this, and whoo, takes your breath away. A triple jump right into a double, a left-hand U-turn into some more jumps. This Pontiac track is full of what riders call air time. Now, riders don't particularly like all that air. You can't make up any time when you're in the air. Spectators, though, love it. A step-up jump. We just went over the top of that. It's a two-plateau thing. You shoot off one up on top of the other, then underneath a big camel tunnel, and this is where it gets exciting. Extremely rough, Dave.
It gets rough, and it also gets critical, Larry, because this sets up the dash for the finish. One last jump, and then up and over the checkered flag waiting for the winner of the race. We'll be back with all the action from Pontiac right after this.
Welcome back to round 10 of the Camel Supercross Series. I'm Larry Myers, with me Dave Despain. The site is the Silver Dome in Pontiac, Michigan. The series so far has been tremendous. We've said that many, many times. I'm looking forward to the recap of the heat races that we have coming up and the main event. Now, before we get to those events, Dave, let's take a look at how the riders make it into the heats and on into the main.
A lot of pressure here because we go to highlights from heat number 1.
And speaking of number 1, there's the number 1 plate of the defending champion, Jeff Stanton. Now, Stanton is the hometown favorite in Pontiac, Michigan. He comes from nearby Sherwood, Michigan, and man, did he have a cheering section there. Behind Stanton, the Frenchman Jean-Michel Bayle, there's the third place rider, former Supercross champion, Johnny O'Mara. Back to the hunt for that number 1 position in heat race number 1, and Jeff Stanton getting some competition from his teammate, Jean-Michel Bayle. Now, you would think, Dave, that Bayle would be a little bit more on the polite side as they hit that big uphill and say, hey, it's your hometown, son, you go on and win. But Bayle, I don't think he understands that part.
I don't think he speaks Michigan. No, he was definitely after Stanton with a vengeance here, hometown hero or not. The traffic is critical, even in the heat races. The guy who gets the best line through the lappers has a big advantage. Stanton got it there, opened it up. Here comes Bayle right back at him, looking to the inside when Stanton goes to the outside, always trying to ride the different line from the guy ahead of him.
Good to point out, Dave, that the traffic is even more critical in heat races because don't forget, we start with 60 riders and weed that field down to the 20 best. So we have a lot of riders in the heat races that are, well, they're not quite up to the par, if you would, of those riders that win. Bayle makes the pass, and he's going to go ahead and take this win uncontested the rest of the way. I think at this point, if I'm Jeff Stanton, I'm going to say, hey, I'd like to have had the win. It's important for me, though, to be into that main event. So I'm going to study Bayle's line, and I'll let him go ahead and take that checkered flag.
Bayle definitely had the better line with the pass, went up on the rail and got the long straightaway out of it. Used that acceleration to get around, and Stanton will file that one away and see if he can't use it later on in the race. Bayle, of course, is trying to prove that Ricky Johnson knows what he's talking about when he says that he's still a factor in the championship.
Well, indeed, Bayle has missed 2 races. He scored no points in 2 of the early rounds due to an injury, but he has come back awfully strong in the later rounds, and I look for Bayle to maintain that consistency throughout the rest of the series. And I frankly have to agree with Johnson. I think that Jean-Michel Bayle has got an excellent crack at this championship before this season is over. He takes the checkered flag in heat race number 1. Jeff Stanton following him across the line. Johnny O'Mara 3rd, Mike Fisher, another Kawasaki rider, in 4th, and Jeff Emig also on a Kawasaki, making it 3-2 over the Honda camp in 5th. Heat race number 2, a Guy Cooper, Mike Kiedrowski battle. Kiedrowski in his early 20s, Guy Cooper 28 years old, one of the veterans on the tour. Neither one of them have ever won a Supercross, but they both have the potential to do it, could do it right here in Pontiac. Cooper is a high flyer. Takes the lead in the early going in heat race number 2. Kiedrowski not about to give up. He's going to follow him and will be relentless throughout the heat race. He would love to get that number 1 spot. Mike is a guy that has not done an awful lot of winning, Dave, although he is perfectly capable. And look at that move as he takes over the number 1 spot. Just kind of whisked it right away from Guy Cooper. Cooper hates to be passed. Now watch this guy. Look at him, comes right back and tries to get to the inside of Kiedrowski, but Kiedrowski was having none of it. He got out of that corner in fine shape and kept Guy Cooper behind him.
You make a good point about age and motivation here, Larry. The youngster against the veteran. They both want to win very badly for very different reasons. Cooper knows he won't have many more opportunities. Kiedrowski needs to justify the faith that the factories have placed in him by giving him that big buck contract. Right now, he's doing it very well, beginning to open up a little gap on Cooper, whose teammate, number 17, Larry Ward, is closing up. Another teenager. He has already won a Supercross race this year and did it in his hometown stadium, the Seattle Kingdome.
Indeed he did. And behind Larry Ward, we just catch a glimpse of him there bobbing up in the air. That was Doug Dubach, number 7, aboard the Yamaha. The center of attention, though, goes to Mike Kidrowski, rider number 11 from Canyon Country, California. Kidrowski took the lead from Guy Cooper, number 4, who's now being pressured, or still being pressured, I should say, by number 17, Larry Ward, and he rode a flawless heat. So Kidrowski takes the checkered flag and wins heat race number 2, followed by Guy Cooper aboard the Suzuki, another Suzuki, Larry Ward in 3rd. Doug Dubach finishes 4th aboard the Yamaha, and Rick Johnson, good to see him back, rounds out the top 5. Heat race number 3 turned into a battle royal, and look at this. Out front, Damon Bradshaw, the teenage sensation, and he gets stuffed by his nemesis throughout this series, Jeff Matasevich. They've been going at it, Dave, just pounding each other and the track since the drop of the gate at the season opener in Anaheim, California.
This is deja vu, Larry. It really does take us back to the first couple of 3 races. Meanwhile, we've got a 3rd and 4th place battle here with number 3, Jeff Ward, being chased by Mike LaRocco. Back with the leaders, Bradshaw and Matasevich beat on each other in the first 3 races. Now they're doing it again here in the heat race tonight. Ward pressured by LaRocco, who figures he's due to win one of these things as well. Matasevich, once he got around Bradshaw, started opening it up a little bit.
Well, for the rest of the race, it was kind of like a seesaw battle. Matasevich would pull out 5-6 bike lengths, but here would come Bradshaw right back at him. Now here we go up into the stands in that tight part of the racetrack, the downhill leading into the triple. A lot of passing going on here all night long during the heat races, and a lot of crashing too, I might add. A particularly treacherous portion of the racetrack. Bradshaw right now content to follow, and look who's following close behind them. The battle for the number 3 position. There we go. Jeff Ward, former Supercross champ, is out in 3rd. Mike LaRocco in 4th, giving him all he wants.
Well, LaRocco definitely is the man who hasn't had a chance to prove what he can do this year. He's been plagued by bad luck and bad starts. Here's Bradshaw coming back off that broken ankle, trying to show Matasevich that he's still the fastest guy in the series, even though Jeff is the point leader. The challenge for Matasevich is to use his head, not let the pressure from Bradshaw get to him.
Now, Bradshaw is indeed putting the pressure on. He's not a factor in the series. The injury kept him out of the points chase, but he is going to be a factor in upsetting other riders' plans. And all Bradshaw wants to do is win, 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 whether it's a heat race, whether it's a last chance qualifier for that matter, or a main event. And Bradshaw is going to put all of the pressure that he possibly can on Matasevich before this one's over. For the past couple of laps, Dave, he's shown Matasevich his front wheel, and actually I think over in one corner he showed him his rear wheel as he went up kind of high and tried to cut him off. But Matasevich is riding very, very cool right now, very calculating race. He's holding the good lines. He's taking the passing line away from Bradshaw. But Bradshaw, as well as anyone on the circuit, can find new lines. That's what he's good at, and that's what I expect we're going to see in this heat race before it's over.
This periodically becomes a 4-man race. Let's not forget these two guys. Ward and LaRocco have been occasionally getting close enough to Bradshaw and Matasevich to actually apply a little pressure, although I think for the moment Matasevich is worried about Bradshaw. There you saw Ward just streak into the frame as they move into some lap traffic now. That could be critical as they move up into the grandstands, hang the left, and head back down the hill.
Now, there was a little bit of contact. Bradshaw just bumped the rear wheel. Matasevich says, hey, don't go quite so slow. I'd like to get around this corner too. Whoa, and that was almost a critical mistake on the part of Bradshaw. Lapped rider in front of him was in the way, but Damon, as I said earlier, was able to move around. And look, Matasevich just plain blew it. He lost his timing and his rhythm going through that section of whoops. He just plain blew it, and Bradshaw was able to make the pass. And now look at this. LaRocco has passed Jeff Ward, and he's moved to the rear wheel of Matasevich, and Matasevich is in trouble. He has really come unglued as LaRocco takes over the number 2 spot.
Bradshaw put the pressure on him, and it got to him. He made a mistake in the whoops. Instead of putting that behind him, Matasevich apparently started thinking about it. First thing he knew, LaRocco was around him, and he was 3rd, and now he's in danger of losing that spot and falling to 4th. Here comes Jeff Ward on the outside.
About the only thing he can count on now is Ward will be a little more gentle if he indeed is able to pass Matasevich. Being Kawasaki teammates, he has no interest in putting Matasevich out or down for the sake of moving up one position. Lap riders, though, don't care. Look at this. Around the outside, the veteran, Jeff Ward, I don't know how he made that move. Dave, that was an unbelievable move on the part of Jeff Ward.
And a pretty snazzy little maneuver there by Damon Bradshaw, too, as he takes the checkered flag. Ward will come home ahead of Matasevich for third. They'll both make it to the main, though. It's Bradshaw, the winner, LaRocco second on the Suzuki. The Kawasaki's of Ward and Matasevich, and Ronnie Tishner's Suzuki rounding out the top 5. That's the heat race action. We'll be back with more right after this.
Again, is the site of round 10 of the Camel Supercross Series. I'm Larry Myers. With me, Dave Despain for ESPN. Semi-final qualifying action. Todd DeHoop, rider number 25, just put the move onto Steve Lamson, number 29, a third rider involved in the battle for one of 2 positions that will make it into the main event. Number 18 is Fred Andrews.
Andrews mixing it up with these guys. Doesn't want to go to that last chance qualifier. He's seen too many of them this year. We've joked about the fact that's been a permanent home for him. He wants to get up there, challenge DeHoop for the win, or at least do something with Lamson and get that second spot. The top 2 will move up. Lamson's having none of it. He wants revenge on DeHoop as they move up into the grandstand.
Well, we started the program with 60 riders, ran 3 heat races. For those of you that have just joined us, top 5 from each of the heats went into the main, and the top 2 now from the semis, a pair of them will also go to the main. We're going to follow these semifinals with a last chance qualifier, and only the winner from that race will make it into the main event. Right now, though, Todd DeHoop sees visions of flying into that main. That's where the money and all of the points are.
Another guy who's really hoping to carve his name in the 250 class. He proved himself in the 125s. He won the Eastern Regional Championship, and that is a stepping stone toward the big league. Lamson, having none of it as far as DeHoop's big reputation is concerned, moves up and moves around, wants to win this race.
Well, Todd DeHoop is a late comer to the Supercross Series this year. He initially started the season in Europe, ran into some misfortune there, and came back to the United States just a couple of races ago. Good to have him back in the States. A very, very nice young man, a very good young rider, but sorry it didn't work out for him in Europe. In the meantime, Lamson takes the measure and moves out to the number 1 position, leaving Hoop, and look at there. Oh, a good move on the part of Andrews to get inside, a better move on the part of DeHoop to wait for that opportune moment to square it off and squirt back underneath him, but it was all to no avail as Andrews bided his time and still got that number 2 spot away from him.
Ultimately, it's the guy who ends up with the position that timed it right. Here is the checkered flag lead for number 29, the winner, Steve Lamson, over Fred Andrews. Sneaked in, got that second spot. He's headed for the feature. Eric Kehoe nailed third at the flag, DeHoop fourth, and Somo fifth.
Semi-final number 2, and a Michigan rider, number 24, Keith Bowen, took the lead at the outset, and he's not been threatened in this one. Now, Keith Bowen is a former factory rider, currently riding as a semi-privateer. The bike is owned and tuned by Tough Racing Products. It's a Suzuki, and Bowen is making it look awfully good in semi-final number 2.
Does look good, Larry. Got those Tough Racing colors. Easy to spot Bowen as he takes that checker. Ahead of McMillan, the runner-up. David Hand third. Musselman and Maurer rounding out the top 5. And Bowen and McMillan are bound for the main event.
David Hand, Musselman, and Maurer all go into the last chance qualifier. That's what we're watching. And there's our print, Todd DeHoop, number 25 out front. This time, DeHoop will make no mistakes. He took hold of the number 1 position early in the ball game, stretched his lead, and DeHoop is going to go on to take that final transfer position and go into the main.
That will leave DeHoop with leftovers as far as position on the starting gate is concerned. Everybody would like to have the first pick. In his case, he'll settle for the 20th pick because the main event is where the money and the points are. DeHoop is headed there as he wins it over McElroy, Kehoe, Valencourt, and Smith.
And that, Dave, takes care of qualifying. Now, still to come, main events in both the 125 and 250cc national championship classes. We've not talked much about the 125 class. We'll get to that very, very shortly. Now, before we get into those main events, you know what I'd like to do, Dave? I'd like to take a look at what it takes to build one of these racetracks.
That's John Savitsky. He's the wizard who puts these things together. You start with a big pile of dirt outside the stadium, and then you move it all inside the stadium, spread it around. Sounds easy. Take a look. Larry, we should probably explain that that's about 2.5 days worth of video recorded on video disc in the very sophisticated equipment in the Silverdome and played back in 30 seconds.
You know, if I were a promoter, I would wish I could do it that quickly.
Yeah, they pay those guys by the hour. You know, if you get the thing built in 30 seconds, you save a lot of money.
Actually, it costs thousands and thousands of dollars. It's a huge sum to put one of the tracks in, and we just seen it in 30 seconds, and it looks great. When we come back, we'll see the riders on that racetrack as we're just about set for the main events in the 125 and 250. Stay with us right here. I'm Larry Myers. With me, Dave Despain, the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. That's the site of round 10 of the Camel Supercross Series. This is the 125cc main event. Now, there are two divisions in the 125 class. We have the Eastern region, which we're watching here, and the Western region. Denny Stevenson leads with 78 points. Mike Jones in the runner-up position with 68, followed by Jeremy Buell, Barry Karsten, and Cliff Palmer. The 125 class, Dave, are the farm leagues for the Camel Supercross Series. It's the youngsters that are just starting out. They have the opportunity to ride with other riders of similar abilities, similar motorcycles, before they get thrown in with the likes of Rick Johnson. As the gate drops, the 125cc main event is underway. The inexperience is here in this 125 class, but they lack not in dedication and desire to win. These kids go all out 100% of the way. Into that tough uphill section.
Whoa, trouble there. That's the point leader. That's number 27, Denny Stevenson. He tail-ended number 80, Talon Volan, when Volan fell off going up that jump. So it's going to be catch-up time for him as Jason Langford jumps out into the lead.
How far he'll catch up will be interesting to watch. Now, he's probably the most talented rider in this field. But, oh, it's something happening back there in that corner. A couple of bikes. David Gaylord, number 486, holding up the motorcycle of Jeremy Buell. That is politeness.
That's true sportsmanship right there. Actually, I don't think any of that had anything to do with on purpose. Here is Langford, and through all this confusion, he's opened up a pretty nice advantage here.
I started to say it'll be interesting to watch the progress of Denny Stevenson. There's no question in my mind that he's going to cut a mean swath through this pack, working his way toward the front. Question is, can he come up far enough to challenge the leaders? He's an awful long way back right now. Speaking of the leader, there is Jason Langford aboard the white Yamaha. Behind him, Cliff Palmer, and running in a number 3 position is Jimmy Eichel from Grove City, Ohio.
Big opportunity for these kids to shine because the tangle of the front runners has given them an opportunity to get to the front of the field. You can bet they're looking over their shoulders, though, wondering where Denny Stevenson is.
Well, I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to turn around and look too hard at that mob behind him. They're coming on. They're hitting the doubles, some of them. Some of them are hitting triples, some of them. And some of them are just riding over every one of the jumps. That's the distance. Oh!
Some of them are falling on their heads, too.
Well, not to make light of the fact that Jimmy Eichel hit the ground, he was in contention for a front-running position, and I think he got just a little carried away.
And look who caught him in the exchange. A glimpse of number 27, Denny Stevenson, going after this guy, the 279 of the leader, Jason Langford. The Texan trying to hold on against the man who has won 3 of the 4 previous races coming into this one.
Well, if he keeps charging the way he is right now, he'll be coming into our camera range very soon. In the meantime, out front, Jason Langford is getting the job done. Clear track, everything is clean in front of him, and he's just putting as much distance between himself and the rest of the pack as he possibly can at this time. That is his sole job right now. Make hay while the sun shines.
The guy who's the real benefactor of all this is coming up on the right-hand side of your screen. Number 51 is Mike Jones. There is his move around Cliff Palmer. That puts him into second place on the racetrack. He is second in the standings, and he trails Stevenson in the points. So with Denny on the ground and this guy moving up, Jones could be the big winner in this thing. He comes out of Export, Pennsylvania.
There's the rider he's chasing, number 279, Jason Langford. It's going to be good before this one is over. Stevenson already up to 5th. Jones coming from second. We'll be right back. Camel Supercross Series. You're watching a 125cc main event, and Mike Jones, rider number 51, and that red Honda is all over the racetrack, but he got the job done. He has just taken the lead away from number 279, the man that has led this thing from the outset, and that's Jason Langford. Now, Jones is in second place in the standings, and here's the leader, number 27, Denny Stevenson. Now, Stevenson was involved in a first-lap crash that had him way in the back. As a matter of fact, he was in dead last, and he is now moved up to, well, he's well inside the top 5, and he's charging, putting a charge on your leader, Mike Jones. Jones in second place in the standings. He's leading this one. Stevenson is closing. I don't know if there's enough time, Dave, if he'll be able to get the job done or not, but the guy is putting in one heck of a ride from dead last.
If it were anybody but Stevenson, I think his chances of catching the leader might be slim in this one. But as Mike Jones tries to pull away here, keep in mind that Stevenson has won all but one of the previous races, so he's not a bad bet in terms of being able to catch up. Here he comes, working now past the early leader, Jason Langford, and that'll get him up to second place on the racetrack.
Well, he'll come into view of the camera. There he is, a short straightaway behind. Jason Langford runs into a hay bale. He loses the number 3 spot, and Cliff Palmer takes that one over. As I started to say, Stevenson can look ahead and see Jones. I don't think Jones even knows he's back there. Now, we go back to the opening lap. That's where Stevenson encountered the difficulty. We just saw Jason Langford hit that bale. Well, just beyond that part, Dave, is where Stevenson crashed. Let's go back and take a look.
Stevenson was an innocent victim here. Talon Boland got in trouble going up the jump, lost his momentum, tipped over, fell backwards. Stevenson bumped into him, really just had nowhere to go. Now he's battling for the lead. He figured out where to go, Larry. Went straight to the front, and he's ready to take on Jones. This is going to be good.
It's going to be interesting. If we go back 1 week ago, Dallas, Texas was the site. The same 2 riders, and again, they were first and second in the series, tangled, Dave. Mike Jones was minding his own business, and they were coming out of a tunnel just about like that one as Stevenson goes, look at there. It's a replay of what went on last week, only in reverse. 1 week ago, Denny Stevenson hit Jones and knocked him down, and it looks to me like Jones is looking for revenge. Dave, I'd like to look at that move again.
Well, he saw Stevenson coming, and Jones just waited for him. Instead of going ahead and completing the corner, went over, tried to put a body block on him. I think you're exactly right. This is Jones saying to Stevenson, I owe you one, and if you come mess with me, I'm going to pay you back tonight right here.
Well, let's see if it continues. Now, Jones has the lead, still has the lead. That's what I should have said. Denny Stevenson is very, very cautious as he looks over at Jones to see where he's going, and now Stevenson goes by, and it looks like he's got the pass made. A good, clean pass. He went all the way around the outside to take over the number 1 spot. Jones, though, is not going back. Look at there. Jones is coming right back, hard and heavy, squirt to the inside, and Jones regains the lead. What a motocross move. This is something.
This is a grudge match. It would not matter if this was for 1st or 5th or 15th. These guys got something to prove to each other, and it has nothing to do with who wins the race. See them looking at each other? They're trying to figure out just how far they want to push this. Kind of like the 2 schoolyard kids that get bumping one another, and it escalates.
Well, I'd say, oh, look at there. Look at there. Denny Stevenson had the opportunity to gas it and get out of there, but he held up. I think he was worried about what Mike might have in mind, and he almost came to a complete stop, and it's probably a good thing.
I'm not sure how long they ought to let this go on, because somebody could get hurt at this. If they get carried away and start really whacking each other, somebody could come out of this with an injury, and that would be too bad. They're both better riders than this, but as I said, what they're doing now is not necessarily racing each other. They're having themselves a fight.
Well, fortunately, they're only going about 5 miles an hour, and I think the intent on Mike Jones' part, I think the intent is to block the progress, stop the progress. I don't think he has any intention of hitting Denny. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Whoa.
I don't think you meant to hit him, Larry.
I no sooner got the words out of my mouth that I didn't think that he had any intent of hitting him, and look what he did. Look at this. This is unbelievable.
Larry, Jones has got a problem, and it's not Denny Stevenson. That motorcycle started to smoke. I'm betting he knocked the hose loose or something on the last exchange. We'll be back to see after this timeout.
Welcome back to the 125cc main event. If you've just joined us, you have missed a barn burner. We're in the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan for round 10 of the Camel Supercross Series. There's the leader, Denny Stevenson. Now there is Mike Jones, number 51. Jones had led for a good part of the race. Stevenson, number 27, coming from way out of the pack from a first lap crash to catch Jones, and the 2 of them went at it like a couple of boxers. Dave, I don't know any other way to describe it.
Apparently the confrontation left Jones with a damaged motorcycle. He's fallen off the pace dramatically, and as you can see, Stevens with still half a lap to go is still just stroking around here, waving to the crowd. He knows he's got it handled. He's proud of himself and should well be, and coming to last to win it.
Oh, what a job this guy has done. He's won 3 out of the last 4. Looks like he's going to make it 4 out of the last 5. He's just kind of stroking around the track. There's Jones way back. And you're right, he has slowed considerably. We saw a puff of smoke, or puffs of smoke, I should say, just before we went to commercial. And I think Jones wisely said, hey, I'm going to drop her down a few cogs. No way that I can get in there and compete with Denny Stevenson. I'm going to settle for what I can get. Dave, it's going to be interesting when they both cross the finish line and head up toward that winner's rostrum to see what kind of a reaction, as Denny Stevenson takes the checkered flag, what kind of a reaction they'll have to each other. Now here comes Jones. He'll go up and take the checkered flag. He's going to finish in the number 2 position. Stevenson has pulled off the edge of the track. He's talking to his dad. I don't believe this. Look at this. Can you beat that? Jones and Stevenson are over there talking. They were just beating their brains out of each other. Stevenson wins it. Jones finishes second. Childress third. Jeremy Pule fourth. Eichel fifth. And Dave, let's go back and take a look at that confrontation again. Now, we need to remind folks that we have to go all the way back to Dallas 1 week earlier when Denny Stevenson, who was the recipient of most of the blows here, actually knocked Mike Jones down. Now Mike Jones is getting a measure of revenge.
Well, it's the old story, Larry, just racing. You know, sometimes guys get together on the racetrack, but if a guy gets into you, you kind of got to get into him back and let him know that, you know, you're not going to be pushed around out there, and that's what this is all about.
Yeah, they like to say, what comes around goes around.
The important thing is these two guys were friends before all this started. Now they've each made their point, and they're still friends, Larry. Let's take a look at how this affects the standings. Stevenson is now 4 for 5 and a big leader over Jones in the points with Buell, Karsten, and Palmer rounding out the top 5.
And we'll be back with a 250 main right after this.
How do you have simply the best summer ever? Get HBO. Stop it.
If you've just tuned in, I'm Larry Myers. This is Dave Despain. The site is the Pontiac Silverdome for round 10 of the Camel Supercross Series. Now, we've already watched the main event action in the 125 class, and you talk about a handlebar banger, push each other around. Man, that was it, wasn't it?
Not bad, and that's just one of the great races this weekend. In fact, these fans that jam the Pontiac Silverdome don't even see all of the action, Larry, because before this place even opened up today, the helmeted heroes of the amateur division had their moment in the spotlight. Let's take a look at some of the winners.
And we'll wish all of the amateur racers the best of luck as they work their way toward Oklahoma and the Amateur National Supercross Championship. Here in Pontiac, the 250cc main event, the Camel Pro main event, the Coors Extra Gold Super Challenge, if you will, is about to get underway. Now, here are the point standings heading into this round 10. Matasevich the leader with 169, followed by Larry Ward, Jeff Stanton, Jean-Michel Bale is fourth, and rounding out the top 5, Mike Kidrowski. There's our starter. The card is going sideways. We're just seconds away, Dave, from the drop of the gate, round 10 of the Camel Supercross Series. You can cut the tension with a knife. Look at this, banging right off the start line. This is going to be a good one, just like the 125cc main event. The O-Show, Johnny O'Mara. What a name here in Pontiac. He won this race back in 1984, and the fans remember him and remember him well. But right behind him, Damon Bradshaw. It's the veteran and the youngster going at it one more time. How many times have we seen it this year?
Also significant, up into third spot goes the number 1 of Jeff Stanton, the hometown hero, trying to pick up some points here in front of the home fans and gain on Matasevich in the standings. Matasevich did not get the good start, and he's well back in that pack, running, I would estimate, about 10th as his teammate Johnny O'Mara leads the race.
Jeff Stanton has said all week that he wants nothing more than to win this race. Secretly, he told me that the tension, he said, that's working within him, he said it's extremely tough. He's a bundle of nerves. There are thousands of people just literally screaming for Jeff Stanton to win. He says you got to contend with that, as well as the likes of Damon Bradshaw and O'Mara. Look at this. O'Mara is not giving up anything. It looked like Bradshaw had him passed. O'Mara grabbed a handful around the outside and held on to the number 1 spot. But Bradshaw is pounding right back. We talked about this earlier. He's finding new lines, and Bradshaw takes over the lead in round 10 of the Camel Supercross Series.
The kid absolutely will not be denied. Doesn't matter who he's racing, on what racetrack, he always goes to the front. He too often crashes, but he always attacks. He never rides conservatively. He never rides the strategic race. It has cost him this year. A bro right there.
Whoa.
See the bobble? He doesn't need to be making that kind of a mistake. He's faster than O'Mara, but he lost his concentration for just a moment, got over the edge, and now suddenly he's got to contend with number 1 Jeff Stanton, who ain't waiting for nobody.
Stanton got an inside line through the bridge, and he said, son, here I am, and Bradshaw had no choice. He had to back out of it, and now he's challenging O'Mara for the number 1 position. Stanton goes high, O'Mara down low, and Stanton got the drive out of the corner, and he's going to take over the lead. O'Mara pounding right back. Look at this, Dave, pounding right back. He's not going anywhere. I've not seen O'Mara ride this well all year long.
It's always amazing to me how far down this guy can reach and come up with the big performance. He's been hurt so bad so many times. His knees, of course, the shock absorbers of motocross, badly beat up over the years and repeatedly operated on. Bradshaw, young, healthy, strong, certainly ought to have something for the 2 veterans up front, but for the moment, he's electing to hold back and save a little of it.
Give a call to Guy Cooper, number 4 from Stillwater, Oklahoma, aboard the yellow Suzuki. Cooper has come from out of the pack, is challenging Bradshaw now for the number 3 position. Here's Stanton under the bridge, followed by Johnny O'Mara. There's Bradshaw, number 8, and here comes Cooper, number 4. Bradshaw gets an inside line. He's side by side with O'Mara up over the finish line jump, and Bradshaw takes over the number 2 position. O'Mara back to 3rd, Cooper 4th. Stanton is our leader. It's a barn burner.
Tremendous action. Reminds me of the Atlanta race when we had 3 and 4 guys running over the top of each other all night. This one looks like it could be more of the same. Stanton is the highly motivated charger here. He loves this run.
Oh, we got a crash back here. Guy Cooper bailed as he hit the whoops heading into that uphill section. Let's go back and take a quick look at that one again.
Going into the whoop-de-doo section there, Cooper just got the front end cocked a little bit, nosed into the jump and took the handlebars out of his hand. And before he had a chance to think about it, he was on the ground. It is now a 3-man race.
I swear, Dave, before this one is over, Guy Cooper is going to win a Supercross. He just tries too hard to be denied. Here's our leader, Jeff Stanton. The pressure is on this guy, but so is the adrenaline. I'm not sure which one would outweigh the other. And, you know, at this particular point, I don't think Bradshaw even cares. Look at him. He is showing the wheel to Stanton. We'll be back right after this to see if Bradshaw can get the job done.
This is our racetrack.
Round 10 of the Camel Supercross Series. We're in the Silverdome, and we have got a Donnybrook going here. Your leader is Jeff Stanton. He's from nearby Sherwood, Michigan. The crowd is behind him. The adrenaline is flowing. Stanton wants this win more than any other that he's ever had in his career. Right behind him, the young man that is out of the point standings in terms of championship hopes, but he's in the role of a spoiler, Damon Bradshaw, the teenage sensation. Bradshaw has been all over Stanton.
I think the 2 guys Bradshaw likes most to beat are Matasevich, the current point leader, and number 1, Jeff Stanton, the reigning champion, because he can't win the title. He wants to prove he's the best guy out there.
Whoa, I thought he had the pass made, Dave. Sorry to interrupt you. I thought he had the pass made, but Stanton got a good drive out of the corner. There they go, side by side again. Bradshaw has put so much pressure on Stanton, and each time, Stanton has just fought him off. I've got to give both of these guys a lot of credit at this point.
Well, you're exactly right about what Bradshaw is doing. He is looking for the line, and he, more than any other rider out there, has that ability to find it. He finds traction where nobody else can. He'll always cut under you or run the rail around the outside of you. He will not follow anybody. Here he's going to try the outside on Stanton as they go right. I don't think there's room there. The weak spot Stanton seems to have is that straightaway you alluded to earlier.
All I know is if I'm Jeff Stanton and I'm riding the right lines, the fast line of the tracks, I have to keep wondering to myself, where is this guy coming from? How is he able to get his wheel inside? Look at this. Look at that move. 17 years old, you're putting me on.
Who's got the right line? This is exactly the opposite of the way they played it a lap ago. This time Stanton goes inside, Bradshaw goes outside, and Stanton beat him both ways. So let's not give all the credit to Bradshaw here. Stanton's doing a great job of holding the kid off.
Well, I'll tell you what else is happening. Damon Bradshaw is like a computer at this point. He's storing every move that Stanton has made into the back of his head, Dave. He's figuring if I go here, Stanton will go there. If I go there, Stanton will go here. So one of these times, he's going to fake him out. He's going to head for here, but he's going to go there.
Well, there's an advantage to being second. It's the only one I can think of. You never want to be behind somebody else unless you can store that knowledge you're talking about and use it to good advantage. Now, here's where Bradshaw made a pass a couple of laps ago. This time he does not make the attempt. He's certainly trying to set something up on Stanton. We're into that section.
He's waiting for something, a certain point on the track. Maybe this is it. He switched lines. That's not where he was last time. He's going to go deep into this corner. Watch him. He's going to square it out. Look at that. He changed lines. He took the line that Stanton used the last time around, took it away from him, made the pass, and is into that #1 spot. And look, Stanton is already starting to go ragged. He's got to be. He was driven nuts by Bradshaw. As soon as Bradshaw went by him, Stanton lost his cool there, and I don't think he'll be able to collect his thoughts and come back. We'll have to see.
Let's see if he can do that. It's important to be able to regroup as a champion. More important right now for Stanton probably is to preserve the points, to not do anything dumb. Lost in all of this battle for the lead is the fact that Matasevich is still back there in the back somewhere and is not scoring very many points here tonight. This is a big race for Stanton if he doesn't blow it.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Jeff Stanton is in second place in the championship points hunt, and it's something that we really haven't talked much about. He can't really afford now to go back if he thinks it out. He can't afford to go back and challenge Bradshaw for that #1 spot. He's got to preserve what he's got. If the opportunity presents itself, and whoa, look at that. Oh, look at that. We have seen all kinds of things here tonight. Matasevich and Bale simply collided. Matasevich jumped on Bale. Bale tried to get up. His bike sprinted out from under him. Dave, I don't know what's next. That looked more like a rodeo than a motocross. We'll be back right after this, and we'll take another look at that incident.
For the manufacturer.
Closing laps of round 10 of the Camel Supercross Series in the Pontiac Silverdome. I'm Larry Myers, with me, Dave Despain. Just before we went to commercial, Dave, an unusual incident. Let's go back and take a look.
Point leader Jeff Matasevich, #20, running fourth. Jean-Michel Bale skids in underneath him, knocks his front wheel out, and momentarily Matasevich is overcome with the mentality of a professional wrestler, gets his wits about him, knows there's a suspension and a fine waiting if he keeps that up, and goes back about his business.
And here's the battle for the #3 position. Johnny O'Mara on the green motorcycle. The yellow one belongs to Mike LaRocco. He's challenging. Here's our leader, Damon Bradshaw, rider #8. Now, Bradshaw, since passing Jeff Stanton, has pretty much had it his own way. He's opened up about a 5-bike length lead, and he looks comfortable. Stanton is still painful back in that #2 position.
Battle for third. You're the guy who said all year, Larry, that LaRocco was going to be a front runner before this campaign was over. Here he comes after O'Mara. He's got him. He's third.
And back to the leader. There's Bradshaw being chased by Stanton. I'd like to point out, too, that LaRocco has come from way off the pace. He was way back in the pack to work up to that #3 spot. Bradshaw still having it his own way. This guy is so calm, cool, and collected. He's still creating new lines on the racetrack. He's having a good time out there. I guess that comes from winning and leading.
He's the next Bob Hanna if he doesn't get hurt repeatedly through his career, I think. Here is now the battle for fourth, and Kedrowski has moved up to challenge Johnny O'Mara, who was so strong early, but appears now to have tired a little bit. He's hanging on there.
So Damon Bradshaw is our leader, followed by Jeff Stanton, Mike LaRocco third. We just had a look at Johnny O'Mara in fourth and Mike Kedrowski fifth. We're back on our leaderboard. Not too many laps to go in this one as Damon Bradshaw continues to show the rest of the field a short way around this racetrack.
Silverdome jinx continues for this guy. Jeff Stanton still looking for his first win here. He was runner-up a year ago tonight in front of 45,000 of his fellow Michiganders. He has to settle for a plaque from the state senator honoring his accomplishment, but no checkered flag.
You know, I go back to what you said earlier. In the position that he's in the point standing, there is no sense for Jeff Stanton to do anything other than follow Damon Bradshaw at this point. Trying to catch the youngster, you're just going to rile him up. You know that Bradshaw is not about to be passed at that stage of the ballgame, so you try to go by him, and he's going to create some new lines, and he just might create them all over your fender, your wheel, or your body. So Stanton has to stay back in second place in his defense.
Good battle going on here for fourth spot now. Challenge from #11, Mike Kedrowski on Johnny O'Mara, and the lapper Fred Andrews sees him go by on both sides. Around the outside, Kedrowski is now fourth.
I'd say Kedrowski forced that issue, and he forced O'Mara right into the back end of Fred Andrews. Here's our leader, Damon Bradshaw, and the man running in the #2 position from nearby Sherwood, Michigan, defending Supercross champion Jeff Stanton. But Bradshaw continues to be the star of the circuit. 17 years old, a teenager from Charlotte, North Carolina. Yamaha paid some big bucks to hold on to this guy this year. My guess is it's going to cost a lot more if they want him for 1991.
Can't help but wonder what it would have been like had he not been injured and missed a couple of races. One lap to go here for the youngster. At the age of 17, durability, of course, is the issue. A lot of great young racers have come along only to get hurt and see their careers shortened. We hope certainly that it doesn't happen to Bradshaw, but he's sure a candidate. He does crash occasionally.
Last lap. This will be showtime for Bradshaw, and he hits the triple jump, and it's time for us to give some thanks out to SRO Pace for promoting this event, and of course all of the folks here at the Silverdome for the fine job that they have done. And there he is as he waves at the crowd. They've been behind him all night. Bradshaw points a finger, says, "I'm number one." Stanton says, "No, I'm still number one in your hearts," and I've got to read it that same way. In any event, the folks here at the Silverdome made our job a lot easier, and we do appreciate it.
And we'll add to that list the American Motorcyclist Association, sanctioning body for these races, and certainly proud of this young man who's likely to be their next big Supercross star.
Indeed he is. Out from underneath the tunnel, he's got a couple of jumps, a little bit of whoop-de-doo here and there. He'll make a right-hander and head up toward the finish line jump. A big cross-up, feet off the pegs. The checkered flag is his, and Bradshaw wins race number 3 of the year for him. It's round 10 of the Camel Supercross Series. LaRocco closing on Stanton. Stanton had his hands full there to hold on to the number 2 position. Bradshaw wins it. An outstanding effort. Jeff Stanton second. Mike LaRocco charging finishes third. Kedrowski fourth, rounding out the top 5. The Kawasaki of former champ Jeff Ward.
Ronnie Tischner 6th, Larry Ward is 7th. Series leader Jeff Matasevich 8th tonight. That is significant. Bale and Dubach, let's go to the winner's circle.
Again, I got out in the main and made everything click again. Jeff rode a good race. He made me work the whole time. There was no time for, showboating or relaxing out there. It was right there, and it's in his hometown. I know how it is. It puts pressure on you, but like you said, the points is what counts. I'm just glad to be here and glad to say that I think I'm back now.
Bradshaw wins the battle. In the war, Jeff Stanton carves a bite out of Jeff Matasevich's point lead. It's just